Welcome, everybody. Another TwinSpires handicapping preview, and of course, a sensational weekend of racing in my backyard in New York at Belmont Park. Friday and Saturday, two stellar cards of action. Scot, Shapiro, Darin Zoccali with you. Scott, we're going to focus this video on the Metropolitan Handicap, of course, known as the Met Mile, which is one of the co-feature races of the day. I guess you can call it on the undercard, where this race used to anchor the Memorial Day cards back in the day. A select field of runners, but there's an awful lot of talent in this short field.
Yeah, we won't whine about how we wish it used to be on Memorial Day, Darren. We love it on the Belmont undercard, but definitely some star power here, despite the compact group of five, of course, led by Flightline, the 3-5 morning line favorite, a perfect 3 for 3 as won by a block in all three starts. Definitely going to be tough to beat there. But obviously there's question marks you can kind of present about this horse, but not based on the running lines.
Oh, that's for sure. The big question marks being the gaps in the races, of course, and we'll get into that in just a moment. But Scott, one of the weird dynamics of this race with it being such a short field, and I know it's 5, but let's face it, informative is not really going to be any part of this pace scenario. When you have a short field of 5, even though you have a couple of very quick horses in the forms of Flightline and Speaker's Corner, do you expect a more controlled pace that maybe doesn't soften things up as much, or do these two horses just knock heads from the start?
I don't know if Flightline is capable of not running fast early on, and especially from the inside draw. And I don't see any real reason why they would try to take a hold, whether it's a 12-horse field or a 5-horse field, Darren. I think they got to just go with this horse along the inside. Obviously, the soundness questions with him not racing hardly ever, which isn't great for racing. But if you own Flightline, you certainly have been happy with his efforts so far. But yeah, I don't think it's going to be out of control hot, even with Flightline and Speaker's Corner, the two speed horses drawn in the 1 and 2 hole. But I don't think it'll be a compact group either. I think there'll be a little bit of separation despite the compact group.
Yeah, we'll save the discussion about wanting to see our stars on the track more often for another video or another podcast. For the purposes of this one, though, a handicapping element, Flightline is going to be one of the shortest price favorites of the day. Now, part of the handicapping here is this is a horse that has difficult time staying on the racetrack. It's just a fact. He debuted in April. He was off for 4.5 months. He came back in September. He was off for nearly 4 months again, and then he came back in December. They were trying to get a start into him in March in California. He had a published hock issue and had to miss that start. So he's been off now again for over 5 months, but he's handled it fine in the 2 times that he's had to come off the layoffs. But that being said, he hasn't run into a horse like Speaker's Corner yet.
No, he has not. And he also has not shipped out of Southern California. So that's a question mark as well. If you look at numbers, it's real hard to get past Flightline, although on Thoroughgraph, Speaker's Corner is a lot closer to him than on other metrics that I've looked at. But to me, you got to take a stand here in this race, Darren. You're not going to use Flightline and Speaker's Corner, both of them, or you shouldn't if you're playing horizontally. And you're probably not going to play a cold exacta, or you're definitely not going to, or I'm advising you definitely not to play an exacta box. So I guess the question is how we're going to attack this race.
Yeah, this race obviously is going to be a big part of the multi-race exotics as well, with the pick 5 and the pick 4. And it feels like a race that you want to take a stand. Speaker's Corner was definitely a cut below Flightline, but probably until the Carter, because you can make the argument that in the Carter, he did run fast enough to compete with Flightline. Flightline now stretches out an extra furlong to the mile. Speaker's Corner does the same, but he has been proven going a 1-turn mile before. And as you talked about the shipping dynamic, Speaker's Corner has shown he has had no problem shipping here or there before.
Yes, exactly. So to me, Darren, it's Flightline or Speaker's Corner. One of them is going to win this race. I think Flightline much more likely to win it, but the price will reflect that. I expect Flightline to be like 2-5, 1-2. Speaker's Corner probably 9-5-ish. To me, though, they're both going to try to win the race, which I think opens things up for the second spot in the exacta, and that's how I'm going to approach the race. And I'm going to try to get Aloha West into second in here. I think he had a pretty excusable third-place effort run in the Churchill Downs when he was far too close to the early pace from the inside, and that was because Jackie's Warrior was crawling up front. This is a horse that was training well before that race, continues to train very well. Obviously, we know it had a great 4-year-old campaign, including the win in the Breeders' Cup Sprint, and I think he'll be a little bit further off the pace, which is to his liking in here. So I did pick Flightline on top there, but I'm going to use both of them on top of Aloha West and some exactas and hope that the Wayne Catalano runner will get a more favorable race shape, which he almost definitely should, and can kind of at least pass one of the other ones in the lane.
Oh, here's the fun part about videos. You've taken one, I'm taking the other. I'm going to take Speaker's Corner to sit just off of Flightline, hopefully breathe down his neck and probably get into a bit of a duel and maybe have a little bit more in the tank coming down to the wire with a bit more seasoning and having so many more races under his belt and being proven that he could ship from racetrack to racetrack. I do think Happy Saver could potentially sneak into the exacta if things do get hot early. I do like horses like this on the cutback more than I like late running closers stretching out to a one-turn mile. Plus, Happy Saver has been proven to be good at this one-turn mile. He has a win over this exact trip at Belmont. I question whether or not how good this horse actually is, but I do think in the right situation, he might be able to find a way into the exacta.
Yeah, I went back and forth on Aloha West and Happy Saver. I agree with you usually in terms of the routers cutting back as opposed to sprinters stretching out an extra furlong or two. But I'm just wondering if Happy Saver is just a little bit too plotty. Yeah, if they go 21-1, I think, that kind of, or, that's ridiculous. 21-4, 22 flat. I do think that that's the kind of situation where Happy Saver would be the likeliest to kind of pick up the pieces, maybe even run them down. But if they go kind of 22-3, 22-4, fast, but not ridiculous, I think Aloha West is better served to finish the deal that day, on a day like that. But either way, Flightline and Speaker's Corner, the likeliest winners. Hopefully they put on a show and Aloha West can pick up the pieces.
So it's Flightline for Scot Shapiro, Speaker's Corner for myself. Best of luck in the Met Mile, the Metropolitan Handicap, and all of your wagers throughout the day. And don't forget, we have a sensational offer for you on Belmont Saturday at TwinSpires. We have the Belmont Money Back special offer. So be sure to see which races qualify based on the number of horses. If you can get your bet back for second or third, fantastic card to be a part of that. For Scot Shapiro, I'm Darin Zoccali. Thanks for joining us, and we'll talk to you again soon.